2, 3.
Hi.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of
Be Uplifted. Did he say it? No, he just did the face.
Yep.
Pound me. You did a good job.
Pound me. Clip that. Can you imagine that soundbite? Pound me. So what's up, guys?
What up? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yesterday, this morning. Just kidding.
Yeah. Shout out to Wes. I know that he watches all of our episodes.
I know. I was
Shout out to Wes.
excited. Anthony was like, "Yeah, I felt kind of weird because he was like talking to me about a bunch of episodes I hadn't even seen." I was like, "You're a terrible husband." That's so funny. Dang. But yeah, shout out to him. He's amazing, and he's been giving us a lot of herb too. So Ari appreciates that.
Nice.
And if nobody knows who Wes is, who is Wes?
Wes is the
he's one of
security
the security managers,
right?
yep, at Pacers, and he's fucking awesome, and he gives the best hug. So Wes, when you see this, shout out to you. We love you.
Pew pew pew
pew pew pew pew pew pew.
All right, I can see now. All right, cool. So what's going on?
So today's topic is
Boom, boom, boom.
boom boom
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
toxic relationships.
Toxic.
Yeah.
Toxic relationships.
Yes. Raise your hand if you've been in one.
How many hands are we allowed to raise?
Can I put my feet up too?
I know, right?
Fuck. Yeah.
Dang. All right. We already know we got lots of shit to say about this one. So who's gonna start it off? Who's gonna ask the first question?
Who's more toxic, women or men?
Okay, there we go.
Oh.
Women.
Women. I vote women.
I have to agree.
I'm going to have to agree too. I think there's a lot more assholes, but I think women are like legit, like low-key scary, toxic.
Wait, okay. So when I'm asking who's more, I'm asking also quantity versus quality. So like quantity.
Definitely women still.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, definitely women still. Well, in my opinion.
But what exactly is your definition of toxic? Because everybody has like nowadays people just toss that around, and I'm going, that ain't even toxic.
That's just something that people do.
But so what are your guys' like definitions of what exactly toxic is?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Well, I've had somebody that that took all of my insecurities and she would just like twist the knife in that, like she would say, oh, nobody's gonna be with you despite all of the things that like I'm self-conscious about, and she like pinpointed every single one, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, she capitalized on your insecurities.
Yeah. So I was like, that's
really
not fair.
fucked up.
Yeah.
Personally, just someone who got really like physical with me and used all my weaknesses. No, not that type of physical. Like
he said, it always goes there, guys, all the time.
But use my weaknesses and like use it against me, basically. Not just insecurities, but found the most weakest part of me and use that against me.
Okay, so your guys' definition then to answer Queer Rich's question is like someone that takes your insecurities and like almost uses others people's weaknesses as their power.
Yes.
I think that's a good definition.
Yeah, or that control. Because I mean, like the physical part, that's physical abuse. It's not necessarily toxic, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's just the mind games.
Yeah.
It's being able to
mind games is a really good way to put
The
it.
manipulation.
Yeah, exactly.
Manipulation's a big word too. I think when someone is only out for personal gain, that makes you do really nasty things, and to me that's another definition of toxic, when it's just like almost like narcissistic behavior, where it's like me, what can I do to get what I want when I want it, and fuck everybody's feelings, and who cares who I hurt along the way, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So tell me, each of you tell me like one of your most toxic memories that like stick out in your head when you were like, man, that one fucking shook me. Like
Just one.
I'm sure we got lots of stories we're gonna tell in this one. I was laughing when I was speaking of little off topic. I was laughing when I was listening to our last podcast because Queer Rich goes, "Why does it always turn negative?" And I was like, I know, right? All of our traumas, the positive always turns around to.
Wait, I'm the one that made it negative.
One of us always does. We always turn it. It's either it turns to our trauma or it turns to dicks. It's always one or the other.
It's like a sidebar. It's like, so today we're talking about the flower fields in Carlsbad, and the next like, oh, speaking of the flower fields, I got dumped there.
I know, yeah, exactly, right? We're like, damn it, there it goes again. Okay, so for one, just right now, tell me one of your guys' memories when you're like, yeah, this one motherfucker or this one bitch.
I'll start it off.
I was like, go, Vince, go.
So I did date somebody that would threaten to end herself. Trying to think of a nice way to
not to
say
like
this.
minimize that, but
yeah, I mean, like, it sucks because like I actually thought that she would do it, and now I was like, oh well, she was just, I've come to realize that for the most part, if somebody's gonna do that, they probably won't announce it.
Yeah.
But
right.
And she was really trying to just get attention and just to have me spend more time with her, and she was threatening to if I can't be with you, then I don't want to be with anybody. So I want to be, So that was, in my opinion, that was toxic. That sucked.
That's incredibly toxic, and I can relate to that. I had someone, and I think that's why Lonnie's like, I think she did too. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if this was going to be my story, but to relate to that, there was one time where my ex like texted me, and I think I shared this, but this was on one of the podcasts, on Twitch, so it wasn't even recorded. So yeah, there was one time where he texted me like, I'm going to kill myself, blah, blah, blah. And then I wasn't answering, and he was like, it's getting dark,
Oh, God.
like, it's getting dark, things are getting blurry, and it's like full.
Should have been like swipe down from the top right, and then you can adjust the brightness.
And then I went in there, and he had wrapped, those nebulizer machines, how there's like that clear tube. So I have that, right? He had wrapped that around his neck and was like pretending that he was trying to kill himself. But it was like, so there was no way that you could die from that. Like the way that he done it. I was like, this guy's fucking psycho. Like, and why are you going to text me that it's getting dark? Like you're tough enough to text, but it's getting dark.
Yeah.
I know, exactly. And I feel bad for making fun of it, but it's just like, that is toxic behavior.
Yeah.
That's like, what the fuck? That's not even normal. Like, what about your story?
I'm trying to narrow down which one hurt the most. Right? I can't just to name one of them on the top of my head. I remember like we were on the same phone line, and I was telling him like remove me, give the permission to remove me, and he was like, no. And at that time, I already moved out and whatever. And he would text me, I have your pillowcases outside. I'm like, what? Why the fuck would I want the pillowcases for full? Like, I don't care. Keep them
away or
Fantastic.
something.
Yeah, but he would find like any little detail to try and just see me for like that moment. But I remember specifically this one time, he was like, he came to my work and he's like, hey, come outside or you're on your lunch, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay. He freaking gave me a card with a pregnancy test. And little did he know, like, I was on birth control. So he was like,
so he is the one that faked your pregnancy test. What the fuck?
Yes.
That is nuts.
Did he pee on it? Because if he came out positive, that's a problem. That's a bigger problem.
That's a big problem.
So how do you even do that?
So we like did it, right? And then I was already on birth control, and he came to my work, and I didn't tell him I was on birth control, but he came to my work and gave me the test, and he's like, hey, so I came in you that many days ago, and I think you should take a test, because he thought that would make us stay together.
Wow. That is that might have to top it. That's because a male, you hear about girls like turkey based in the condom and shit like that, but like a male getting a pregnancy test, I think that's a first.
First of all, turkey basting the condom does not work.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's so funny when people talk about that shit. I'm like, that doesn't work, right? Like,
once it hits air, it's dead.
That's what I tell people. But I'm like, I think that's right. So thank you for confirming.
Yeah, you can't get it from toilet seats either.
Yeah.
Stupid people.
How about through your mouth?
Why would you put your mouth on a toilet seat?
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. Sometimes I just get these urges.
Kinky.
What about you, Kuya? I want to hear Kuya's.
For me, a lot of it just it's the mental games, where somebody kind of like
this thing keeps trying to go towards my tits right here, guy.
Wait, somebody has to fix that. But no, where it's like somebody like basically surrender control or they gain control of the relationship, and at that point they kind of put themselves above everything else, almost like they're the parent. And at that point, like everything you do is now scrutinized to the minute details, where you can't make a mistake because any mistake that you have is now, you are this and this, and it's like you can never get anything right, and to the point where you start second guessing everything that you do, because at that point you're you don't know whether or not you're going to make a mistake. And then that the insecurity and that feeling and the anxiety is probably the most toxic you'll ever feel in any relationship.
I can say that I'm guilty of being that person because I was put there. Like when you say that, I remember being in a relationship where at the end, because I was so tired of shit, like what made me feel better was doing fucked up shit, like talking shit back to him, And although I was doing another wrong in addition to his wrong, like I can admit that's probably the most toxic I've ever been. So I can 100% agree with that, because I remember just being like what you said, taking some of his insecurities, right? Because you know how you were talking about insecurities. Yeah. I purposely did that. Like, okay, you've hurt me so much, and I know you're insecure about this, so just to make you feel that same hurt, I'm going to fucking bring that shit up and hurt you back, And I remember being like, okay, now this is not okay, because now I'm fucking toxic, so.
Well, can we talk about the small toxic, too?
Yeah, let's
do it. What was Ari's first toxic thing?
Oh, well, I told the thing with the thing.
Was that it?
We'll just say that. If I think of any more stories, I'm sure will come up.
Okay. Well, I was thinking about like small toxic too. Like when, like say we're in a relationship and I know an answer, but I'm asking just to see what you'd say. I think that's toxic.
Like a test almost?
Yeah. If you start testing somebody, I think that's toxic as well. It might not be like to the level where like, red flag type thing, but to me, that's actually a deal breaker. If somebody wants to test me, if something's wrong, address me on that,
What about in an instance where the person's going to lie and you're seeing if they're going to lie?
If you know they're going to lie, you don't want to be with a liar. That's the thing.
Well, you're giving them an opportunity to tell the truth.
Are you giving them an opportunity or are you actually testing them? Because I can understand if you're giving them an opportunity, but in most cases that I've observed, I don't think that they're giving an opportunity. I think that they're actually trying to test.
Okay, and that's fair.
Yeah, when you're trying to test, you're playing games with me. And when you're playing games with me, best believe I'm going to win.
Yeah.
I'm so guilty. I've done that, though.
Yeah, I've done that, too. But I've done it also in the way that you said was okay, where I was genuinely like, you know what? Like, I'm going to give this person the benefit of the doubt and let them tell me the truth. And then I ended up catching them anyways. So I've done the toxic and I've done the non-toxic version of that for sure.
I've done both for sure.
Yeah, I think that it really depends on your intentions.
I see.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a good word. Yeah, intentions.
So, sorry, talking about that, I have low-key kind of funny story about that. So one of my past relationships, he would always go out and go fishing all the time. And it just came to a habit where he always lied to me going fishing. And I was like, okay. So one time...
Like that he was going?
That he was going.
Oh, okay.
I'll be back. I'm going to cheat on you.
But it was really
he was really just fishing?
Really fishing.
Oh.
Oh, that bastard.
No, he was actually fishing?
He was actually fishing. He would lie to me because instead of taking care of like responsibilities at home or something, he actually was out fishing, and that's when I got pissed off.
Okay.
Okay. But anyway, so
that's weird.
It was really
like you're
weird.
fucking fishing, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was out fishing and I had his location and I was like, dude, it didn't take that long to go to the fucking grocery store. Like, where the fuck is this fool?
Yeah.
So I check his location. He's in the middle of a fucking ocean. And then or like a lake or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
And then I text him and I'm like, so are you coming home?
So the stuff at the store that I needed?
Like, you going to go get the fish there or what? No, but so anyways, he goes, oh, I had to go to the doctor's. I was like, for what?
And but he didn't know you had his location?
Dr. Aquaman?
Oh. And then I was like, oh yeah, like prove it to me then if you're at the doctor's, right? He literally, Googled a fucking pharmacy, right? And he screenshot it and sent it to me. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this does not look like any fucking
pharmacy from
that
here.
I've seen, right? So then when he gets home, I'm like, how was the pharmacy? Where'd you get? Blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I sent you the picture. I go, really? And then I literally Googled pharmacy and that same fucking picture.
Oh, no.
I would have screenshot his location and just be like, "Well, was it here? How do you find parking?"
I know, right?
No, I did.
Right?
I did. But it was just funny though, because I was like, "Fool, you're gonna
And
Google a fucking picture."
And he didn't even like scroll deeper, so you wouldn't find it right
It's like the
away.
first
It's like the
one.
first picture.
Yeah.
Oh
And then
no.
I looked at his history. I go, interesting. This pharmacy that you Googled, huh?
Oh my god! What was his story after that? Just out of curiosity.
I honestly don't
Wow,
know.
Did
the
he flip
pharmacy
it?
I
Like,
went
well,
to
why the
is
fuck were you
popular.
looking for my shit anyway?
Probably
flipped it.
Yeah, I don't.
So you guys were living together,
We were living together.
It's crazy.
and he said he was gonna go to farm.
How do you go from the grocery store to the doctor
pharmacy.
to the pharmacy?
but yet be in the ocean.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate.
Okay, as you always do.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How often did he go fishing?
Like almost every single day.
Oh,
Wow.
wow!
Yeah.
Did he
Come on, Rich,
did you bring-
save this.
No. Did you bring any fish? Did he bring any fish home?
No.
So he sucked that
No,
in.
no, he didn't. I will give him this. He was a really good fisherman, but he always like gave the fish out, or he gave it to his mom or whatever. But I'm like,
Was it because he didn't want you to catch it, so he couldn't bring fish home too?
Yes.
That is so weird.
I guess.
Well, I mean, no. The reason why I'm asking is, sometimes people need an outlet,
Right.
But with the stressors and everything at home, you kind of forget that.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, if he's doing it every day, then I'm sorry, brother. I tried to help you out,
No. Yeah.
whoever you are.
Right.
No, don't help that motherfucker out.
Well, and like it
But-
would also be one thing if I don't know because I'm not your man, right? But like if I was to see you as a very possessive girlfriend and like
Yeah.
like Queer Rich says, maybe like, oh well, maybe he was scared you were gonna get mad and he needed
Yeah.
to fish once in a while. I would kind of get that,
Right.
where he was coming from, but. I mean, I've always known you to be pretty chill and understanding,
Yeah.
so that's weird.
Yeah, it was just more of like shit needed to get done. Like you said you were gonna go get groceries when there's no fucking groceries in the house. Like I'm always the one that had to take care of everything, and then that's why I got mad.
Because it started to interfere with priorities that should be made priorities.
Yes.
That makes sense.
What about the woman's role in the house? Aren't you supposed to do the groceries?
Yeah, but if I'm paying all the fucking bills in the house and like,
That's why you're the woman.
You know what?
excuse me, are we about
You
to
put me
argue?
over here on
about
this side for a
toxic, yeah.
purpose, didn't you?
just
One
wanna-
girl on each side.
I'm like, hold on, we're about to bring it back like last episode.
I know,
okay?
right? Like, wait a
Hey,
minute.
I thought I was gonna get us canceled.
That's funny. Sorry. Okay, but continue. So small toxic traits.
I think so.
That's a good one.
Ladies, and guys, because you guys are guilty of this too. I think that it's toxic if you have to have your significant other's location.
I've
and their
never done that
password.
before.
And yeah, like when you invade their privacy, that's toxic as hell.
Well, I don't think necessarily like invading, but it's open, right? Like I have Anthony's passwords, but I've literally never looked through his shit, and then like he's got mine and I don't give a fuck if he ever chose to,
Yeah.
but like we don't go out of our way to do that. You know what I mean?
Did you give it to him though, or did he ask for it? And was it a passive way of asking for it? If he
I
did
think
ask for
what it was is because all of our passwords match, like all of
Okay.
our family computer shit, like all of that. Like
they're
that's
all my
why.
last name, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much, yeah.
With 143 after.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just saying.
That makes damn. Now I have a new password.
Right?
Well, I would honestly give my password, or I wouldn't mind my password and my location being shared with my significant other if I gave it to her.
Yeah. Okay. But being asked for it.
if she says, "Oh, prove it, send me your location," blah blah blah, I was like, why? It's so much easier to just break up with you.
So you don't like feeling the loss of like control or like invasion in a relationship. I feel that in a lot of our conversations with you.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, so there was a funny.
Does that stem from a trauma?
No, I actually wanted to talk about this. There's a big cop out that girls always say whenever they talk to me or when they talk about the thing. They're like, "Who hurt you?" And it's like that's such a big cop out. Like, you know what? I hurt me, and I'm also the one that healed me. So, what's your point? I really don't understand that question. When
I think they're just it's like a fucking sarcastic way of asking, like, what brought those kind of like values, morals, thought processes.
But talking about the accountability that we talked about a couple episodes ago, you know, like I'm recognizing that I do have either a small percentage or a big percentage of the accountability on that, and it's because I let people walk all over me, or I was, you know, ignoring the clear signs, you know. So yeah, I think that maybe I was the one that hurt me, but then I'm also the one that healed me.
I think not a lot of people are, not to say that like the four of us are like the shit or anything like that, but like not a lot of people have those tough conversations with themselves. Like, you know, I need to take accountability. That's why the first question that most people say is, who did it, right? Because nobody wants to admit that they did their own shit, you know?
I wonder what would happen if I answered that. Like, oh, it was, you know, such and such. Go get her.
Watch all these bitches go after all these girls. I'm like, you have lots of friends. I'm sure someone would go after.
You know,
someone.
to be honest, I have friends that listen to our podcast, and they ask me the same thing. They're like, "Who hurt you?" But I think what it is that it's a misconception, because I'm over here telling you exactly what I like and don't like.
Right, exactly.
Right? And I'm not sugarcoating anything. So it's not that it's not that I've been hurt. I've learned lessons.
Yeah, I agree with that, because some people are those stories that you told, and it's like, I grew from those. We talk about them so that people can learn, right? When they watch our podcast, or they can have their opinion and hear another person's opinion and see different perspectives. So I agree with that. Like, it's kind of funny when people are like, dude, you guys get a little intense. It's like, well, that's kind of the point, so that you can see different points of views and learn and grow.
Like, who hurt you? The whole world hurts
right?
you.
Exactly.
Every day I wake up and I'm in pain.
Right?
I go to work. I mean, you know, like
life, guys, life.
Yeah.
Well, and then we're able to talk about it because we
grew from it. And are still learning and growing from it, right?
And the ability to actually recognize it and admit either fault or recognition of somebody else's fault, that helps you actually proceed on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Well, talking about the TikTok that you sent way earlier, but I just opened TikTok recently. Well, it was the one about the whole phase.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I forgot exactly how it went, but then like I'm just in my experimental, like I'm not hoeing myself around. I haven't gone on lots of dates or, you know, slept with a bunch of people. In fact, I haven't slept with anybody since we really started doing this. And
God.
yeah, well, but it was funny because like in that TikTok, they're like, the people that gone through their whole phase are the ones that aren't going to settle because they know what's out there, so they make a choice. It's not a lack of options.
Yeah,
I have no idea how they said it because I only listened to it once, but that was pretty much the gist.
message.
That's a good way to put it out there.
Yeah.
I think that's true, honestly.
I think so, too.
I think that's why I fucked up a lot and got into toxic relationships. Was I just was so, like, you know, I was in such a rush to want to be in a relationship because I love, you know, and it was like I didn't even like test out a bunch of the waters to see what I like and don't like. It was just kind of like, oh, this is cool. It's like boyfriend, you know, like he loves me, you know.
I think what I don't like is the term hoe phase, because I don't think it's actually like hoeing out, right? It's just basically finding, like, going through your journey.
Your explore phase.
Yeah, it's like when you say I went through my whole phase, it's almost as if like I was willing to give it up to anybody.
But I was though. No, I'm just kidding. Totally kidding.
Which it isn't true. I mean, for me, it's like, you know, I'll date, never really commit to like a long-term relationship type of thing, but it's not necessarily like a whole phase, because it's not like I just do multiple one-night stands.
Well, I also think that like when you're a grown-up, like we're grown-ups now. Like, we can do whatever the fuck we want at the end of the day, as long as we're safe. We're not putting ourselves and anyone else in danger. I think it's not like what did you guys say on one of our streams? You're like, a girl that's with a monogamous relationship, her shit is getting ran through probably 10 times more than
well, no, I mean,
there's
that whole misconception. Oh, she's promiscuous. She's probably really loose. And it's like, well, I just got out of a relationship, but then I was like plowing her daily.
Right, exactly.
You know, so
so this
I guarantee my girl was getting it more than the hose.
Right, that part.
So I think it's just easier to just say hoe phase.
And I think girls, like, they joke, right?
Yeah.
Like, you fucking hoe, you bitch, you know, like whatever, but we don't really mean it. Now, if a guy was actually like, yeah, you hoe, then we're offended. That's the fucked up thing, right? Yeah. So what do you think is a small like a small kind, more like underlying toxic trait, like Vince said. Another example
that I've experienced or done.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like maybe the whole insecurity thing. Like I used to fuck around and be like, dude, your arms ain't shit.
Thanks,
No, not to you, but like, or like, okay, so I don't know, you guys been following my freaking Instagram and I've been squatting and Jason's like, dude, what the fuck? You can squat. You like, that's hella depth. I'm like, oh yeah, bitch.
Yeah.
Like I fuck around like that, but like, he knows I'm not serious.
Yeah, that's funny though. I think I'm like, that's my sense of humor, so I don't see a problem with that. I'm trying to think of an example.
I have an example that you can elaborate on because I still don't understand it. Is the crazy eyes. Because apparently, like you noticed it, and I don't know if that attributes to like a small toxic or even a qualify, but
it's just this look, and it's funny because like a couple of my close friends, they're like, okay, Ari the Oracle, you know, because like I'll call, like I'll peep someone, and I almost am always right, like not all the time because I'm only human, but most of the time I'm right, and they're like, fuck, why do you do that? And yes, I did peep crazy eyes on some people that I've met around Vince, you know. It's just, Lonnie, you get it, right? Because I think girls see it more than guys. It's just this like, it's like this look of just being dead in the eyes, you know?
It's not even just dead. It just like, there's this stare that they look at you and it's just like, they're going to eat you alive, but not in a good way.
But they're also plotting. It's like this plotting, but crazy eyes. Yeah. It's hard to, I don't know. It's just a thing, but it's obviously true because they did a whole episode about it on How I Met Your Mother. So
I think guys are really bad at recognizing that, because I would look at that two ways. I would look at that either the devil,
the sexy eyes.
The devil's within me, or we fucking get it on.
We're about to get it on. You're like, you're giving me the sexy eyes, and I'm over here like, nope, that's the crazy eyes, brother.
A bitch be looking at you like this, like they gonna fuck you up. You know, like
but
you're gonna die.
Sometimes I look at that, I'm like, man, either I'm getting I'm either getting warned by the devil or heaven.
Right? Or like, devil, which one do I listen to?
The devil's like, stay away from that, and heaven's like, oh, you're gonna have a good time.
Oh, you know what I think is a toxic trait a lot of girls do, and I think both in relationships and even friendships is.
How come I feel like I know what you're gonna say? Go ahead.
No, I don't know. Like, it's kind of weird, so maybe not. This like befriending people, like being close. Like, I remember my one of my guy friends, his girlfriend pretended to be like really close with me, but it was really because it was like she was keeping tabs on him. You know? Like, oh yeah, hey babe, you know, da 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 da, and like being super cute and sweet with me and like some of the other homegirls that kicked it in our group back then. And it wasn't because she actually gave a fuck. She was just really kind of keeping tabs on her dude.
See, we call that fake as fuck.
Yeah, so she was fake, basically. Yeah, like that. And it's kind of like, you're getting a little too close too quick, and you're calling me your BFF way too quick here. You know?
I've dated somebody before that, like, you know, they'll like my friends would be like, oh, your girl commented on this and blah blah. I think I think we're cool or whatever. And then all of a sudden she blocks her and stuff like that. I'm like, what the
those kind of games. I'm like, I don't get that. Like, you like them or you don't. Like, what's the games about, you know? What
I thought you were gonna say was, because I know a lot of women, and I used to be this, I'm not gonna lie, was when they're like, oh no, go ahead and leave me alone. But really,
oh yeah, well fine, leave then. You know, that kind of shit. But it's not
but
true.
see, I do.
I know, I remember that story. Yeah. Fucking kick the girl out of the car. Yeah. Get the fuck out there.
All right, go ahead.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know a lot of females who do that.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
if you want to dare me to do something and I act on it, don't be surprised.
Like, they want to be chased almost to see if like they're worth the chase.
Newsflash, you're not.
Yeah.
Looking right in the camera.
He said, you are not.
Yeah.
My ex did that shit to me. I was like, dude, are you a bitch or what?
Oh, I can't. See, that's the double standard, right? We want guys to be more emotional, but then when they get a little too much, you're like, don't be a bitch. Yeah. Kuya, thoughts? His brain's going. I see it.
I don't. You know, the whole, I guess, the whole toxic thing for me has always been, as I said earlier, like mental.
Yeah.
Right. And whenever I see it in other people, I always think about how, you know, once they get into a relationship, a lot of times people kind of fall into toxic relationships because they give, like, especially men, they give too much of a charge to the women. It's almost like just because you met her, the whole world doesn't have to revolve around her,
right?
And you're technically almost like training her to have you on her beck and call.
Yeah.
And as soon as that starts to happen, that's when it starts.
When you're more like a puppy dog.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, like with the whole fishing thing, you know, other than the fact that he was doing it every day, if he said, oh, well, this Saturday I'm going fishing, and then you're like, no, I think you're just gonna stay home and be with me because, you know, we haven't seen each other all week.
Yeah.
And it's almost like if he starts actually going, okay, fine, I'll do it, and then it starts again the next week and the week after, and then he's never gonna go fishing.
Yeah. Well,
that becomes the toxicity that becomes rampant, and then it grows from there.
Right. It's funny that you bring that up because what do they call that, right? Oh, he's pussy whipped, right? He's so pussy whipped. And it's funny because when you bring that up, I have a friend that I think of, and her man was like deep in the group, you know, like heavy in the group, like super, super close to all of us, super close with Anthony. And everyone loved her. Like, she's just like a sweet girl. Everybody loved her. But we started noticing that he started showing up less and less and less. And it was like, oh, this bitch is like really toxic. Like, and now we don't ever see him. And it was really that. It was like, no, you're not going to go to that party. You just went out last month.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what? Yeah. Like, oh, you're not going to stay home with the kids? You're going to go out like that? And it's like, bro, like, we're all going. Like, what? Why? You know?
Funny.
Yeah. It's like, dude, why?
That's, yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, okay, so if that happened to me, I'll be like, no, I'm going. Now I'm not going with you.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing. It's like, and when he did go out, she would have to be present every single time. And it's like, for me, like, for example, like, Ackright had a guy thing, right? He's like, did you want to go? I'm like, are any of the other girlfriends going? And he's like, no. I was like, well, then no. That's weird. Like, have a boys' night, you know? He's like, okay, you're cool with that? I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Fucking play with my nipples by myself? Like, while you guys talk, like, guy shit? Like, I'm good.
I'd be there with you.
Right? But he was like,
I don't care if it's a guy's night out. I got you.
Well, and I think the guys are preconditioned from this other wife, right? And they're just like, oh, Ari's cool with that? Like, yeah, she didn't even want to come, guys. You know what I mean? It's just weird to have that much control over an adult that's your partner.
The most important thing that you actually mentioned was, you know, you're not going to stay home with me and the kids. And then they always use the kids as weapons, like, as like ammunition, right? It's like, oh, well, we have kids. And I'm like, I know, we made them together. Right. It's not a surprise to me that we have kids, but, you know, it's so easy. And I don't want to pinpoint women because we're doing it like as far as a marriage. It's so like normal for women to go, oh, I'm gonna have a mani-pedi day. I'm gonna go with my friends to go get a spa, to go have a spa day. But the minute guys like, oh, I wanna just go hang out and with my friends. Well, why just you guys?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, who's gonna be there? It's not normalized. What are you guys gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I've been asked that by females before, like especially during backyards and barbecues when we had a lot of friends coming over. They were like, you don't mind that Ackright has so many guys' nights?
For what?
But to me, correct me, I mean, I'm sure you guys are going to agree with me because you guys are not crazy, but I'm like, to me, it is essential that you have your girls' nights and he has his boys' nights because you guys cannot fucking do everything together or you're going to explode. Like,
let me give you two options.
Yeah.
I can either have fun with my friends without you and then come back to you happy.
Right.
Or I can resent you for keeping me away from them.
That's right.
All night long on your iPad over there on the other side of the house.
Yeah. Right.
And we won't even talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you ain't even going to give him pussy. Like, come on.
Yeah. Or I've had it where the girl was like, oh, so yeah, you're just going to go without me? Okay, fine, blah, blah, blah. Then you stay home, you guys don't talk, and she sleeps early.
Yeah.
Like, motherfucker.
I'm gonna be a devil's advocate though. I feel like there should still be a balance though.
Absolutely.
Oh no,
there should definitely be a balance, but then just keep in mind that there's going to be a choice that I have to make.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to make myself happy.
Right.
Well, and I think there has to be, in regards to balance, fairness, right? Like he said, don't be asking for a mani and petty day if you're not willing to give your guy a night out with the boys or whatever, you know? And that's, I guess, also where trust comes in too, you know?
Yeah. And for the record, a guy's like release or whatever is not doing chores for you. Okay.
I'm dead.
I know, like I know there's shit that has to be done around the house, but I don't do that shit for fun. Okay.
You're like, that is not my release. Okay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry. Did you want? Okay, no. So we're talking about this toxic relationships because we talked about this before, but it wasn't recorded. Is there what did we talk about before? Was there points?
What were
what should we do in if we recognize that something is toxic?
Oh yeah, we did talk about that. Like what?
That was part of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What
Okay.
are the steps once you recognize that it's toxic?
and recognizing red flags, basically.
Right. Basically.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you guys would do?
One of the things I remember, I think Lonnie might have said it, but talk to your friends about it. Like, even though you think no one wants to, because I was like that. I've spoken about the narcissistic relationship that I've been in a lot of times, but I think a lot of them are on the non-recorded episodes. But so I was in a relationship with a guy that was diagnosed narcissistic and a sociopath. It ended up being like a legit fucking diagnosis. And oh my God, I just had a fucking brain fart. I just slipped my mind. What was the question again?
So, well, you started saying talk to your friends about it. Before you do though, I would say try to have a conversation with the
other person.
Yeah, first and foremost, try to have a conversation with the other person. Now, if that seems to be a dead end or whatever, or if they are like, they do have these problems where you can't open up to them, then talk to your friends and stuff like that. So how do you recommend?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is I found myself hiding it a lot because I didn't want anybody to judge him because I thought he was gonna change. You know what I mean? Or I didn't want to look stupid because I was staying with this really toxic person. So I kind of dealt with shit by myself. So one of the things we talked about on the previous time that we had this topic was talk to someone about it because you need to have an outsider's perspective because sometimes you're blinded by this love or this shame, right?
Right. And whoever that person is, that friend that you're venting out to that friend, like, be honest with them. Because when I was going through my relationship, they're like, oh, we just wanted you to be happy.
Yeah,
clearly,
a lot of
bitch,
people
I was
said that
not
to
fucking
me
happy.
too. A lot of people said that. We knew, but we thought you were, that was what was going to make you happy. But if you see him doing me dirty, like
say something.
Right, exactly.
Also, when you reach out, make sure that you're going with an open mind. Because there's a lot of people that reach out, but they're just trying to justify the feelings that they have.
Right,
and stuff
they're
like that.
looking
It's
for
like,
a
no,
yes man.
actually, you are tripping. Like, you shouldn't be denting his car.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why it's more important sometimes to listen than it is to talk. Whenever toxicity kind of goes around, especially in relationships, guys, like for me, like around my friends, they would actually kind of like make those snide comments, like meaning to joke, but jokes are half meant, right?
Right.
And it's your ability to actually listen and go, wait a second. So they've said that numerous times now. Is it problematic? Because sometimes finding out you're in a toxic relationship is not so easy from the inside looking out.
Right. Exactly. You're blinded.
Right? Because not just that, because you're programmed, depending on how long it's been.
That's true. Yeah.
Or whatever past traumas you have, you think it's just natural.
Normal.
But when people start talking like, man, you never go out anymore since you've been with her, then you're like, wait a second. Be open to listen and be like, you know what, fucking, they're kind of right. And then, that's when you actually approach it and start to talk with the individual. Hopefully you catch it well early in the relationship. That if it's not meant to be, you could just move away. But if you have kids, you have
It's a little different. Yeah.
Then I would always say there's always couples therapy. Find what do you call this? Find somebody that would actually mediate.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important to find someone that's non-biased if it gets that serious. Obviously in the early stages of the toxicity, you can talk to your friends, you can vent out, but like there's always going to be some type of bias, right? Either they're going to be on your side, or if it's his homie, his or her homie, the other person's side. But if you have a family therapist or someone that like actually knows what's going on and non-biased, it's a lot more helpful, I feel, for sure.
Yeah. For sure. Well, what is something that you would recognize, like red flag in the stages? The question basically you asked us.
I didn't even know I asked that question. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't even know what the question was. What was it?
Your question was, what are some things? Well,
What should we do?
yeah.
Oh, so
When you start recognizing the red flags, like how do you proceed so that we can get, like, say someone's watching this and they're like, I think I'm in a toxic relationship. Like, what steps should they start taking to probably like get away from it or figure it out?
So prepare your way out. One thing that I like to do is I like to get a sperm donor and then impregnate her. That way, when we have a kid and it's a black baby, it's like, oh, you cheated on me, and then like I have a way out, and then like she's all confused. That can
Solid
work.
plan.
Yeah, I just made that up. So
Apparently.
I know, right? It wasn't well thought out.
I mean, but you know, worst case scenario, you're only with her for 9 more months.
Wow.
No, but it definitely does help if you do have like some kind of like a backup plan. You know, maybe arrange somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
Save your money. Make sure that all of her name is off of your shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
really
I
good
like
one.
Yeah.
that logical one.
Make
right
sure
there.
that you make sure that you separate your ties together.
Put your ducks in a row. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
actually really smart because that's one thing that I didn't think of when I was going through that. Like, oh shit, his name is on our car and
Yeah.
my lease, and my credit went to shit after he stopped paying for everything and he left. You know, so it was like, I should have thought about that. That's
Here's
good
something that's
advice.
cool. You can always say, "Oh, honey, let's get a PO box." That way we can start getting fan letters and stuff like that, and then direct all of her information to the PO box, because if she's getting letters
fan letter.
sent to you, you then have to evict her if she won't leave your place. And yeah, so she's lawfully, like, just by receiving mail there, she's lawfully your a resident there, and in order to get rid of her, you legally have to evict her.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Good to know.
I know, right?
yeah.
Hopefully,
Fun fact.
hopefully, if you're listening to this, you don't have to get
That
far.
crazy.
Yeah,
I
I know.
know, right?
But
No,
also,
but there are some extreme cases which I've gone through.
Same.
That
Tell the car story.
the car story when I tried to break up with somebody and then she said no, and when I was walking to my car, she closed my car door when I opened it, but she used her car to close the door on the one that's out there, the one with the dent.
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was a crazy story. Wait, you have a car story too. Tell
do have a
that,
car
because
story.
these stories were told on the one that was not saved. So tell the story.
God, these damn car
I
stories.
know,
Yeah.
right?
So me and my ex got into a fight. Long story short, he was talking suicide, and I told him, I was like, look, like, let's just regroup tomorrow, go home, relax, and then we can talk about this. He was arguing with me back and forth, and he's like, I'm gonna kill myself on the freeway, blah blah blah. And I'm like, dude, relax. So I'm standing in front of the car, which is probably my first red flag that I shouldn't have fucking done. I was standing in front of the car, and he let go of the brake, and the car rolled onto my leg.
Oh my god.
And then I had this big fat ass bruise on my upper knee. And then he realized he did that. He hit the brake, and he goes, move, or I'm gonna do it again.
Wow.
And then I was like, all right. I moved over, and I was like, and honestly, I thought to myself, if he fucking killed himself, then I did what I could.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can consider that toxic, rather than anger management, like assault.
Yeah, that's
trust-
crazy.
It was
Well,
that.
I mean, I would consider that toxic and assault. Yeah.
Right. A little bit of both.
Toxic
Yeah.
assault.
Well,
my
and the crazy
gosh.
thing too was, I don't think I mentioned this, was before he did that, my two best friends, that I'm still best friends with, shout out to you guys, they saw him pull out a knife on me, and he was like gonna kill me. Like, he was ready to kill me. So then when I was like, dude, calm down, I was trying to calm him down. And I think the most toxic thing that I did during that time, because he did a lot of other crazy shit with me at that time, was like, I was lying to him, because he had me in situations where I really thought I was going to die in the car with him.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm going to stay with you. Like, it's
Oh my gosh, I had to do that too.
too.
PTSD.
Yeah, I had to like tell him lies, like, just so I can make sure I can get out the car and like be safe.
Is this the same fishing guy?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember like,
he really wanted to go fishing.
That's crazy because when you tell stories, like my chest literally gets heavy because I get flashbacks of, and I know you know this feeling now that you're telling the story, like, this is it. This is where I die. Like when you're in the car driving and they're driving like crazy like that, like just being fucked up, you're like, oh my God, I'm about to fucking die in this car crash right now. Like,
you know,
he's about to kill me.
I've experienced that with the same girl that closed my door with her car. So she was actually driving and she was all like, I want to just drive off of the freeway. I was like, okay, go ahead. So I unbuckled my seatbelt and then I held hers in place. I said, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to kill me.
Damn.
Oh shit! So
So I don't recommend that, but it works.
Oh my gosh,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, Cody Rich, remember the story I was telling you where I hyperventilated and I passed out? That's the same guy, the same situation.
Oh man, that guy really wanted to go fishing.
Yeah. So I mean, I've had a lot of toxic in that one relationship, and to kind of just rewind and go back on your question was like something that if you think you're in a toxic relationship. What
you probably are in one.
I know, right?
First of all, yes. Are in one if you're questioning it.
I remember what I did, but go on.
Okay. And if it physically helps you to write it out, your pros and cons, like write it out. But for me, it's like if it's starting to physically hurt my mental state, my physical state, and everything else in between, then you're probably in a toxic relationship.
Right. You lose yourself.
So I have an idea. If you're in a toxic relationship and you recognize it, start working on yourself. Like, prioritize your wants, your needs, the finances and everything like that. Because eventually, what's going to happen is she's going to start complaining that you don't spend enough time with her or you ignore her, and then after a while, she'll start talking to guys that are close to her, and those dumbass guys are gonna be like, oh, if you were my girl, I would treat you like this, and then she's gonna start believing it, and then you have this easy out. Yeah, you have this easy way out where she cheats on you, and then like you just convince her to just keep on being with him by not giving her the time of day, and then you get this brand new relationship with yourself, and then she gets to be the leftovers that goes to somebody else.
So if you guys haven't seen the episode, please refer to Once a Cheater, Always a Cheater. Vince tells a great story of reverse cheating.
Yeah. Yes. It may seem like in this episode he came up with that idea right on the spot, but he actually 6 months ago.
Yeah,
he actually did this.
I just rethunk it. I just remembered it. Yeah.
But it works because he actually made it happen.
Yeah.
So.
It was fantastic. But you do have to practice like crying.
Wow.
Wait, can you give us an example?
Go.
Well, you just hold your breath whenever like, oh, I wish we could work things out.
God.
Close your eyes. All you have to do is stop. If you talk and you're buffering and you take a deep breath between each word,
and when you take your glasses off, you can't see anyway.
Yeah.
Toxic trait.
Yeah.
So this whole episode's about Vince. Just kidding. So, okay, on a more serious note, also, because you had talked about mental state, right?
Yeah.
I think something to also give advice on for people that might have gone through this is there's no shame in needing to seek professional help.
Yes.
We had talked about this before. Like you said that you went to therapy. I've openly talked about I had to go to therapy after that toxic relationship. I don't know if you've done
I thought you meant prostitutes. Okay, go on.
Just stop it.
But other professional help. All right.
Yeah, that too. If you need to, get a release, that too. But yeah, like there's no shame because I know there was a time, and I think it's nice now because it's not as taboo, but back then it was. So it's like this, oh my God, I have to go fucking see a therapist because I'm so fucked up. Like, do it. It's worth it. And it helps the healing like a ton.
Yes. Yeah. And if you're in the San Diego area, there's it's literally in downtown. You just need a police report and they will give that like free therapy session for you. If you need help, like just literally look up San Diego County therapists or for domestic violence or whatever the heck it is.
Oh, that's a great
More importantly, it's the police report. So if there's domestic violence involved, go to the cops. It's not worth your life to stay with somebody that just continuously kicks your ass.
That was a mistake I made. I hid the violence, and it only made it worse.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
something that I actually did that was good. Is I would report and I would say, hey, I don't want you guys to do anything. I just want it on record that she,
Oh, that's
did
smart.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like if
You can do that?
Yes.
Oh, that's
and
good to know.
if you were to call the cops, and typically even if I were to call the cops and then she's crying, they'll take me to the side, they'll handcuff me, and then they'll question me. But if they have this long list of all this shit
Yeah.
that she's done already, they're gonna, like they'll at least give us even playing field.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and
That's
to
smart.
like, back up what he was saying, like I made that stupid mistake by not making any paper trail with the
Yeah.
police. And when that things were happening, and I had proof, I had text messages, I had pictures, like the bruises on my leg, I had doctor records, I had all this stuff. And they're like, well, why didn't you call it in? And when they finally came to me to give me the police report, honestly, I felt so stupid because they were just like, they had no sympathy to me.
Yeah.
So literally, like, it is really hard, and I feel for anyone who's going through this, like, I feel you because I've been through that.
scary,
It's
yeah.
scary, but it's gonna back you up in the end if your end result is to go take it to court.
Yeah, that's true. 100%. I think it's important because I think it happens in all stages of life, right? All women and men have been in abusive relationships, but I think a lot of times when you're younger and you're more naive, you are put in these worse situations because you don't have the tools or the knowledge to know what to do, so that's a good point.
And what's crazy is when I was going through that situation, I knew a couple of people that were like, yeah, I went through that. And I'm like, what? Like, it's not, I don't want to keep it normalized, but people need to understand that there's steps that you need to take, and you're not the only person that's going through it. There's plenty. I mean, as you guys see here, we've been
Right.
through it, so if it's something that's happening to you, like, be vocal about it.
Yeah. Don't hide it. As scary as it is, it might very well save your life or whatever. As crazy it sounds, but like it's true,
Yeah. I mean, that's really extreme, the extreme parts,
Yeah.
but like, if you don't say anything or if you don't get out of it or whatever, it can come to that point.
Yeah, so I've even said this to a lot of my friends that are having kids or they just started a relationship. Start a Gmail account. You can always, everything that you send to that is going to be time stamped. If you just want to keep some kind of a journal about all of the things that are happening, you could always just do that.
That's smart. That's good advice too.
I've done that. Thanks.
So let's see. What advice would you give to someone that is moving into a new relationship from coming out of a toxic relationship?
Be selfish.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's actually really good.
And be that, and I mean that in the sense that selfish in the positive thing. It's like, remember, you're going to be with yourself for the rest of your life. So, make sure that you're prioritizing the things that you like, because there are 4 or 5 billion people in the world.
Yes.
If the next person isn't meeting your standards, you can, hopefully you can meet somebody else that clicks with you. You know what I mean? So, it's the things that I think that I've allowed to get to that toxic part. So recognize the red flags, get honest opinions from your homies.
Yeah, honest.
You know what I mean? Because like there was a point in time where I was like, oh, I don't deserve to be with somebody like her. She's so awesome. But then meanwhile, all of my homeboys were like, dude, you don't deserve to be with her. Like, she's shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're saying the same thing, but then you get blinded. So, like, keep an open mind and be selfish.
Yeah.
But not too selfish where you become the toxic part of this.
Right, right.
Hopefully
Right.
you've given yourself enough time moving
Time
away from the
investing,
relationship
time.
Exactly.
to know exactly what you want. Because when you get into a relationship, not everybody's out to hurt you.
Right.
And if you don't take those months or however long it takes for you to reset your mind, you're still going to be in
You're
that
gonna
toxic
project,
mode.
yeah.
You're going to project, and you are going to be the toxic one.
100%.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
Second that. Yeah, I was gonna say, give yourself time to heal. Like that, all that trauma, you're gonna have to learn how to let it go.
Right. But side note, I think it's also important to point out kind of something that Queer Rich said on one of the last streams, where it's like, but also there's a difference between being selfish, but also like just fucking giving up on relationships left and right. Like, if you're invested in this person, like if it's a marriage, we're talking about like marriage and stuff like that and kids, that's a different story. I feel like you don't just get to go, well, you suck, bye. There's still like compromise that needs to be worked out when it's deeper. Yeah. But definitely when things are becoming unsafe or people are using manipulation, that's
Yeah.
when you need to reassess the situation.
Yeah. Agree.
How would you say that, okay, let's take it a little bit personal. How would you say you function differently in your more healthier relationships? Or how would you, if you're not in a relationship now, learning from your toxic relationship?
Can you say that again in less words? What?
So say you get into a relationship.
Yeah.
What are some things that you would do differently, or what have you learned? Like, how would you function differently in this new relationship because you've learned from the toxicity from the previous relationship? Communicate more, be less possessive.
No, seriously, communicate more. Communicate your likes and your dislikes right off the bat, so it's not anything surprising. You know, in a relationship, it's about learning about each other, right? And you're not going to learn about each other if you continuously, kind of cosplay what the other person wants you to be.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, you know, you're gonna know. You're just gonna have to take your time. I always say just take your time, and then, yeah, I mean, there's nothing like knowing what you want, but you also have to let the other person know this is exactly what you want and how you want it. And if they want to ride that ride, then they ride that ride. If they don't, then they might not necessarily be for you.
Yeah, that's a good point. How about you?
I guess just understanding my wants and my needs and my things that are not non-negotiables. And then for the things that are non-negotiables, then don't let them think like they can just get away with it.
Right.
Because that's what started it. Yeah. What about you, Ari?
Everything that you guys said, definitely. Like, I would have said that first if you guys didn't say it. But in addition to that, I think I'm going to go back to the accountability thing, like really learning what I did wrong in the other relationship, what my toxic traits were in the end, or whatever you want to call it, and be sure not to bring that. So I was telling someone like recently, you need to look at your relationship through a scope of healing, not a scope of trauma. Because if you look at everything this person does because so-and-so fucked up before, and you're like, well, in my last relationship, he did that, so that triggers me. Well, maybe that person didn't know, you know, so you can't just jump down their throat and get upset with them that they did that one thing because so-and-so in your past did that. Like, just let them know, like, hey, this is something that happened to me in my previous relationship. It kind of hurts me. I don't think you did that intentionally, but it hurts me, you know, like finding a different way of communicating through like I said, a scope of healing instead of a scope of trauma.
With that though, would you say, for me, I would rather have the girl say, I don't like that. I'm not a fan of what you did there, as opposed to saying, this is what happened to me in my past relationship.
Well, if it got to a point of why you needed to understand it. Yeah, I think I would say first, I don't like it. But if he was like, well, why? What? It's just not a big deal, you know? Then that's when I would explain it.
Because sometimes people like, oh, I don't like that. You know,
comparing.
My last relationship. It's like, bro, this ain't your fucking last relationship.
Yeah.
You know
what
I
that's
mean?
what I'm saying. Look through a scope of healing instead of being like, well, that person, you know, did that.
Damn, you hit me to my core.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You?
Oh yeah, I still have a turn on.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
Fuck.
So I, you know, I'll just say what I said before. Like, you have to realize that, you know, it's. I've said this before. It's not your job to make their day good. It's just your job to make it better. And I've also said that I don't want to be somebody's whole world. I just want to be their favorite part. So when you can start doing things casually and everything that you guys do together, yeah, it contributes to an improvement. But then it's not your life is not relying on them. Just go about it that way. You know, just learn that you know, make yourself happy first. Did I even answer the question? What was the question?
Yeah.
Like, how would I go into a new relationship?
Yeah.
After?
So you did.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing, is that a lot of times we're not prioritizing ourselves. I've seen so many people even getting out of a regular relationship or what could have been a toxic relationship. They tend to go in this whole like downward spiral about themselves. Like, oh, what did I do to make her like this, or him, or why, you know, why was I not good enough? No, it's like sometimes they're just a shit person, you know, and when you start realizing that you're doing everything that you can and you start making the person that you should be making happy is yourself, basically. Yeah. Right? If they want to come along for the ride, then let them come along. That's it.
Mic drop.
Right.
So do you guys have anything that you can openly admit that you still carry right now because of the toxicity that's, I mean, not to say that you're not working on it, right? Because we're all still working on ourselves and growing. But is there anything that right now you're like, yeah, that's definitely from what happened to me and I need to work on that?
What you just said recently about the whole looking into a relationship as like a scope, then so basically like I still carry some trauma. I'm not gonna lie, you know, there's still some things that, you know, Jason does that triggers me because I'm like, dude, like that's not okay, and he doesn't realize it. But that's when I do bring up, well, I feel like this or do this because my last relationship or because of the relationship, and I have to remember that. Yeah, that's not his intention. Is not the same his same intention as my last relationship. Yeah, it's because he just doesn't know. So yeah, that's for sure me.
Yeah, mine, I think it's just whether or not I'm good enough to be who I am for the next person. But that I can't answer that without being in a relationship though, right? So that is a big speed bump still that kind of like stops everything.
You kind of question yourself and doubt yourself.
Trying to question you go through years and years of somebody telling you were never ever good enough. Yeah. You know, are you, you know, and whether or not, you know, I have the self-confidence or the self-esteem, because I know I do. It's just that when you take that next step,
that voice is still in the back of your head.
That voice is like, oh, fuck. What if, right? What if you're not good enough?
You know, it's interesting for my situation. If I was to answer that question, is I've talked about openly on here before, so I'm going to be transparent. Like me and Ackright had to go through therapy at one point, right? So for me, it's a little interesting because us both coming out of really toxic relationships, we had toxicity towards each other because we were still learning and healing, right? So sometimes the new Ackright does things that the old Ackright used to do, and I still hold that shit against him, even though it's a new day. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's something I'm working on, where someone had to tell him, like, you have to love this new version of Ari that you've hurt, so she's going to have some trauma. And I've had to be told, well, Ari, you have to love this version of Anthony because this is him trying. You know, you can't hold the past shit that he did to you against him, and he can't hold your trauma against you since he caused it, you know? So it's like this compromise. So I think that's something that I still have to remember, that, like, although it's the same person, people do change and people can grow, you know, and I can't hold those things against him anymore if I chose to stay. You know what I mean? Like, it was my choice to stay. So if I told you, I forgive you, I'm moving on, it really has to be, I forgive you and I'm moving on, you know? And if he's choosing to be with broken Ari that's a little bit broken, then he needs to be more empathetic because he's choosing to stay with broken Ari, you know? So
that's hard.
Yeah.
That's super hard.
It's hard when it's the same person. That's why I'm like, I think it's interesting because I've talked about my narcissistic relationship and I've grown from a lot of that shit, but it's like sometimes you stay in those relationships where you've had trauma too, you know? So
yeah.
Yeah, I think that the thing that has stuck with me is now I have a much lower acceptance or tolerance of people that lack accountability.
Yeah. I see that.
I think that happens to everyone that's gone through extreme trauma. Like, our tolerance or our wherewithal for bullshit gets real low. You know, you're like, nah, I've been through this shit. Not that again. You know.
Yeah. And then another thing too, I can admit is like trust. Not trust of like, oh, you're gonna cheat on me, but trust of like letting you, for example, like Jason saying, oh, I want to take care of you. Like, that's hard for me to trust you, because not just my past relationships with like boyfriends, but like family members, like other relationships too. So that
because you've always had to like fend for yourself almost.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That's hard.
So I asked a lot of questions. It's your guys' turn.
Well, how long have we been on?
Yeah,
an hour.
Oh, okay.
An hour? Oh, okay. Well, then if you guys have made it this far in the podcast, and you want to do a podcast of your own, hit up Anchor. And I have no idea what that stuff is, but Rich says it all the time.
Rich, take it away.
Yeah, Rich.
It's actually pre-recorded. So
Oh, yeah,
it's
that's right.
It goes on to the beginning of the podcast.
Oh yeah, I hear that every.
Yeah.
So
or we come in the middle of it sometimes.
Yeah, just listen to the beginning of the podcast again.
Yep, that
Yep.
part.
Other than that, I'm excited for the next episode because not only do I not know what it is, I've been holding in this fart for the longest time. So I'm ready. Yeah.
Any parting words about toxic relationships? Last words of wisdom or thoughts?
I think the best toxic relationship you could ever get to is the toxic relationship with the BUplifted podcast.
Yep.
Boom.
We are available on Spotify,
Apple Podcasts,
Anchor.
yep,
Google Podcast,
and all the other platforms.
whatever
there is.
platform you want, we got you.
Yeah.
I'm available on Tinder now. So.
Yeah. And
Oh, I said,
I'm
And
not.
if we're not available on whatever platform, comment, let us know, and then I'll look into adding it to that because
and shout out to any of our new subscribers or followers because
Yes.
I know the numbers are slowly rising, and we're very appreciative for every single follow, like, subscription, whatever you want to call it.
yeah, and
That's right.
comment.
Yeah.
And no matter what stage of a relationship that you're in, you can always improve it by ordering from Mikey's Meals here in the San Diego area
go.
by using the Babes 10 to get 10% off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There you go.
and if you actually do want to start your own podcast,
Yeah, come to the studio. I need to pay bills. I'm one bill away from selling my pictures of feet on OnlyFans just to pay the fucking bills.
Just stop it.
All right, guys. Yeah. So make sure you guys like, comment, rate, and subscribe to all our platforms, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Bye.